Okay, so this video covers the hull back. We're going to finish off all the detailing for this. And need to start out with some 8-ring caps. So it's a smaller variety of caps. And because we're going to actually be shearing them, there is some danger of explosion. So if you still have gunpowder in any of these, you might want to put a little bit of water, just with a paintbrush, inside of each of the ones that you're planning to cut off. And then they won't explode when you dig that paper out. Otherwise, sometimes they'll go off in your face. And plus, it being wet in there makes the paper way easier to dig out. So it's just easier in every way. Just do it that way. So you're only going to need 2 of these per vehicle, that is. And I like to use the actual ring that they're attached to as a guide to help me do this. So I'm going to slice off from here down through. I'm going to try to line up my blade perfectly with the ring and just shear it straight down. Like so. So you have one open end and then about 70% of the cap still intact. It's important you go straight down, otherwise they will look a little bit odd when you place them. So next thing to do is sort of test place them on the back and see if they need to be modified at all before you glue them on. You want them to look the same. Another method of getting a lot of similar ones, if you're having trouble making them similar, is to cut, if you're doing several vehicles, certainly, cut them all out at once and then just line them up and put all the most similar ones together. Now these, you can see, they're pretty close. One's not a lot closer to the hull or angled differently than the other one, so I'm happy with this. And I'm going to go ahead and attach these now. So this is kind of a 2-step process. You do have to let these dry on there before you put the pipes on, or else you'll knock them off quite often. So it's just highly recommended that you wait. So I'm just using 4-to-1 glue. You can use straight glue for this as well. It actually does sort of make a nicer bond. Now, you sort of cover up the symbols when you put the glue on. But more important than following the symbols is getting them to match each other. So yeah, try to follow the symbols, but if this is interfering with one's closeness, then just set the other one so they look the same. In height and distance from this. So those are pretty good. Okay. So now I would leave this to dry. I've got a dry one here that I'll just continue with. Okay, so we can put away the glue for a minute here. We're going to cut a 14mm length of round toothpick off. So oops. Mark it with the pencil, and then roll it beneath the blade, and it'll pop off quite easily. And a little bit of sandpaper for one end, nice and flat. You'll need 2 of these, obviously, for each vehicle as well. And now, with the end that you sanded down, you just want to put a little bit. These are pipes, so a little bit of a concave area right in the center of the end that's visible. Try to make sure you get right in the center, because the 1/16 bit is not much smaller than the actual round toothpick. You'll end up stripping off the sides if you try to go from anywhere other than the very center. You don't need to go deep, just an impression of a hole, which you can fill with black paint. It will make it look more pipe-like than if you didn't do this. Just makes it a lot easier to paint in the end. You can kind of tell that this has been done. Doesn't take much. There we go. So those are our pipes. We're ready for the glue again. We're just going to glue both of these in at the same time so that we can set them up so that they match each other at the very least. Okay. Just make sure the drilled end is out. And so you want to be really careful that they're coming out at the very center of the cap, so it'll look funny if they're not. And also, especially if you've trimmed a little bit much off the cap, you really want to be careful not to pop the cap off. If you do, don't panic, just slide some glue on and just continue with this process. You want to make sure the heights come to the same and that they're coming up straight, or again it will look odd later. And so there's the pipes for the rear, and that pretty much gets you to the next step.